I love dad jokes. Anybody here like dad jokes? Dad jokes are sweet. They're corny. They're fun. A lot of people cringe at them, and I don't know who hurt you, but they come to you from the good dads who we should celebrate, who stuck around to actually take care of their kids, probably paying for some stuff too. And we lament them by telling them they have dad jokes, and they gain weight. We tell them they have dad bod. But then they buy you something. That's dad money. That's good suddenly.
It's the interview you've been waiting for. Victor Del Giorno Uncovered on Aotr New Orleans.
Coming to Coin Trader Studios, we're bringing it live. And who am I? I go by the name of Darkest Night. And Jada Hoyos is the one who brings a sick beat, to which we're getting pumped for topics this week. So let me grab my great soda and take a sip, while I turn it over to Katie, Nick, Ted, and Vic. It's all over. We're all over the road. We got a brand new show, so just lo and behold, from the bayou to the city to the burbs to the swamps, you better know what time it is when you're hearing that.
All Over the Road New Orleans is brought to you by Coin Trader Inc. Mind your money.
Father and daughter shenanigans.
One of the good ones. Love me like he should one, like he wrote the book one.
Behind every spoiled daughter, there's a bald-headed father.
Yeah, baby.
And we're back with Victor Del Giorno, the king of all podcasting, and the very, inside edition of a nice little interview of his life. Okay, so we were just talking about how you moved here from Chicago, middle of your junior year, and you were coming up I-55, going I-10, coming into Kenner. You were talking about, you just saw Nutria for the first time on the golf course, and we were talking about how you watched Esplanade Mall get built.
Another thing that was really freaky is because we came in the winter, like right before Christmas.
Yeah.
And it was warm. I was going, wow, this is really weird.
Yeah. Oh, that is weird for you.
Yeah, it was really weird. I was going, this is weird. I mean, there's a place in December where they got this kind of weather. Now, I never knew it would be the heat that I tried to experience, that I try to live with today. But yeah. I think as you get older, it's harder to
Christmas, the day after Christmas, my kids are in the pool. Like, I mean, it's just how it is here. But no, I wanted to take a second and talk about the Esplanade Mall in Kenner when it was in its heyday. And it was finished in the 80s, right?
Yeah, I think it was right around the mid-'80s. Yeah, 1983, 84, something like that.
So I was trying to explain to Harper what the mall in and of itself used to be like and how it's very different today. It was like, no, Harper, you don't understand. Like, the Esplanade Mall was like brand new, lots of neon lights everywhere. Like that was like when neon was really big in the 80s. I'm like, you would go to the food court. There was like tons of different options. I mean, she can go to the food court now, but like, it's not like Lakeside Mall is not the same as how Esplanade was. And I said how you would go and get like dropped off at the mall and you'd like hang out with your friends. It was like the place to be. You're like, we're going to the mall. Your birthday party was like, no, we're going to go. My birthday is we're all going to the mall. And then like we're like hanging out and it's like, oh, I want to go to her birthday. She's having a birthday at the mall. Like nobody does that anymore, you know? But I just think it's so cool how you watched it get completely built and then now it's gone. Yeah. R.I.P.
Well, before that, they built a little shopping center where they put the Sunbasket supermarket, and they put a little mini mall in there first, and they had an ice skating rink in there, and they had the 3-dimensional club that was a disco club when I was going to disco clubs.
So this location that you're talking about right now is currently off of West Esplanade across it's where like
Chateau Boulevard and West Esplanade.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah, and they used to have a racetrack too, Jefferson Downs, which was right down the street, right down at the end of Chateau Boulevard. And of course, the country club was booming, and both me and Bobby worked tending bar at the country club.
Like
and
good times, huh?
Oh yeah,
easy life.
We used to me and Bobby would put together these private poker games in the men's locker room.
No way.
And those were huge. You get big old tips, and anything the guys wanted. The guys could say, "Get me a cigar, get me whatever."
Yeah, and you make your tips.
We'd make it happen.
So didn't you say you used to party in Fat City and it wasn't like it is today?
Yeah, Fat City is an area in Metairie that was just wall-to-wall clubs and bars and, takeout eateries. And
what was the famous club in the 80s in Fat City? What was the name of it?
Well, there's my friend Kenny Vincent, who's still around, Kenny Vincent Southside, which I did a lot of stuff in radio over there, tons of stuff at Kenny Vincent's. There was Caleb's nightclub in McAllister's Quarter, along with what was the other one? I can't remember the other one, but I worked at the ski lodge. What was it called again? Something ski lodge. Act 4 ski lodge. Okay. And it was a club, and I was the doorman there. And my friend, the late Clint Farber, was a bouncer, and we had other bouncers. And I was the guy that would work the door and check IDs. And of course, the girls got in, the guys didn't. And whenever there was trouble, I had the earpiece and I'd call the muscle.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of like the cooler, I would try to cool them off, talk them down. And if that didn't work, then it'd get physical. But I had beer bottles broken over me, and I had people shoving me.
Did you get paid?
Oh, yeah, I got paid. Absolutely. Got paid pretty well.
This is when you were in high school?
I was after high school.
Wasn't the Landmark a big deal back then?
The Landmark was a cool place. The Landmark, we used to have a lot of boxing in the revolving at the top. So they had a lot of top ranked boxing up there with Jimmy LaCava.
Cool.
Yeah. And what was the guy's name? Something Bono. I can't remember the name of the guy, but boxing was, a lot of people don't know this about New Orleans, but the first heavyweight championship bout took place in Kenner on the river in Rivertown.
Yeah, they have a statue there.
Yeah, they have a statue there.
Okay.
So boxing was always big growing up, and I did a little boxing, as a matter of fact, and hung out with Joey Ancona. In Fat City, I was in with the in crowd, so whatever the cool crowd, I was in it, man. I mean, we ran Fat City, I don't want to get into it. This was, before
so
Christ.
So at this point, you were like going out, working in the bar scene, and then you were in radio, correct?
Well, yeah. At that time, I was, I was actually going to broadcasting school at that time. I went to the Broadcasting Institute of America, run by a man by the name of Mike Reinhardt, who was a very nice fella, dear man. They only picked a few people to be in it, and to this day, and a friend of mine, Larry Hyatt, was in my same class. It was for us, me, Larry, and 2 other people. And to this day, Larry Hyatt still works at the same radio station where he got his first job in Houma, Louisiana. And this is 40-something years ago, and he still works there and never left home. As a matter of fact, he wrote a book about his life, how he thought he would be, go in the radio business and make it. And his book is about not making it. His book is about being stuck in Houma. And I'm in it.
That actually sounds like a good book.
Yeah, it is a good book. It's basically a book, hey, I'm a freaking loser.
Or it's just like
it's
the
funny.
Reality of pretty much 85% of the world. You think you're going to do something and, oh, no way.
I mentioned several times in the book. And when he wrote the book, he somehow lost contact with me. And it's not like today where they got the socialist media, you can find somebody. And he never got my permission. I said, Larry, you could have used my name. I could care less. But he gave me another name, another Italian name. And there's
if you can't get the permission, it's risky.
Yeah. So and then from there, I got my first radio job was in Golden Meadow, Louisiana, where I met the lovely Dufresne family, who basically made me one of their own.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So, did your brothers go to broadcasting school?
No, Bobby started in broadcasting in Lafayette in college. He worked at Bobby, he went from never being on the air to like the big top 40 station in Lafayette, KVOL. Bobby just works his way into anything. And
he really does.
He does.
He's such a, I don't want to say salesman, but he's so good at getting what he needs.
Yeah. I mean, me and Michael are kind of animated, and it's
he's good at making you realize that what he has, you need it. That's how he is. Yes.
That's for sure. But, so Bobby was there, and Michael, he got into radio, actually with my dad. Well, his first radio job is him and my dad did a morning show here on WTIX in New Orleans. And that's
WTIX.
Yes. And that's still on the air today. And so all the old.
The building by Target?
Yeah. Is that the building by Target used to be, that is where the broadcast school was, number 1.
Oh, stop.
Number 2, that's where WRNO was, the Rock of New Orleans, when Joseph J-Mar Costello owned the station. And I worked for J-Mar. I was the program director at KXOR in Thibodaux, which was the farm club for WRNO. So I would run KXOR in Thibodaux. I'd hire and fire everybody. I did the afternoon shift. I was horrible. God, was I bad. I was the worst guy. I was terrible. I mean, out of the 3 of us,
why were you in charge?
I was, I had some management skills. Okay.
You were the worst and you were firing people?
No, I mean, as far, in my opinion, on the air, I was not very good.
You just meant that you weren't as experienced as you got.
If I can hear stuff, and I have a way to listen to some of the old stuff, and it's pretty bad. But you're always your worst critic. But then I would go on the weekends, and I do weekends at WRNO. But that same building that's still there, and now the station is still on the air, and it's owned by Mike Costello, which was Joe's little brother, who's a really, really nice fella. I talk to him every now and then. He's a great guy.
So just to take a pause, what are some things that you notice in people now when they're doing radio, podcasting, radio or podcasting, or like if you're watching them on TV, like host or something, do you, from school or just from like experience, what is something that you notice that you're like, that is a pet peeve, they should not be doing that?
Well, some of the, like, for instance, one of the guys that really amazes me, there's a couple guys, like, for instance, Terry Crews. I mean, that's a guy, he does, what is it? What the greatest actor? What's the thing? It's a competition, AGT, American's Got Talent.
Okay, yeah.
Terry Crews, he was in Young Chicks. He plays the flute, big old built, used to play football. You never heard of Terry Crews? My God.
I don't know, Dad. I don't know names.
Man.
I just
Terry
know
Crews,
faces.
he's the man. But how good of a job he does, which is Nick Cannon, when he hosts stuff. It's just how smooth they are, and they don't have the as and crutches like Vic has. Vic has a lot of that. Mm-hmm. And in the ums and stuff like that.
It's very hard. We were just talking about this. I was talking about this with Derek.
But then again, you want to be real.
But that's because I was saying, I say like a lot just normally. That's just how I talk. But that's not, if I'm doing public speaking, you are not supposed to add likes and stuff like that, But if you're Ryan Seacrest, for the most part, you're reading a cue card, and there are no as and ums and cue cards. Dad, let's talk about Ryan Seacrest. Why don't you like Ryan Seacrest? Dad, Ryan Seacrest is the future Casey Kasem.
Ryan Seacrest has way surpassed Casey Kasem.
Okay, good.
Okay. Now, Ryan Seacrest, when Ryan Seacrest first started, I always felt like he had my gig. Okay. That was probably...
You were jealous of Ryan Seacrest.
Well, and remember I always used to tell you the top 5 guys I want to kick their ass, and he was always in the top 5, along with John May.
You cannot.
Oh, come on. Anyway, so I have the utmost respect for Ryan Seacrest, and of course, as you know, when Randy Lane from the Randy Lane Company came here and did that workshop with us, and we started the podcast, he told the Ryan Seacrest story. Randy Lane was my boss in Memphis at FM 100.
He said he wanted to be
the next Dick Clark.
The next Dick Clark.
And he is. And he's actually beyond that.
I know.
So I think Ryan Seacrest is, he's the best in the business.
He really is.
Yeah. He is.
Weaponized incompetence.
So that would be one of the pet peeves is when you notice
but
you don't really
it's
notice.
It's different today.
Is there an X factor? I mean, like, you look like, what makes you good?
Well,
like, what do you have to hear to be like, that person's got talent behind the microphone? Because not everybody can do it.
Well, it's kind of like when you're a singer and you're listening to the radio, and when Rod Stewart would come on, you knew his voice. That's Rod Stewart. Mm-hmm. When Michael McDonald would come, that's Michael McDonald. It's you want to have something that's unique and genuine. I never had the radio. Hey, I was never like that. Mm-hmm. So, and that was something that I started early. I was thinking, look, I'm just going to be me. Now, there was a lot of stuff that I was tinkering with, trying to sound good or sound like a man, because when I started, I was basically a boy. Mm-hmm. And, I just think that the business is so different today. When I started in radio, people listened to the radio. And when I said I was going to be out at, Kenny Vincent's on Saturday night, it drew a crowd. Mm-hmm. And so now
I kind of miss that. Like, I wish that nostalgic aspect of radio could come back now with podcasting and internet.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll get your tops, but they're like in LA or wherever. And it's like they're like celebrities. You can't go out. Oh, I'm going to be out in front of In-N-Out Burger. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah. Vanilla Ice is a guy. If you go on Google and you search, you do Vanilla Ice and put pop culture. Vanilla Ice put out a post, might have been 2 or 3 years ago, talking about how the new media has really kind of killed pop culture.
Yeah. I follow an account on Instagram that says pop culture died in 2009.
Yeah.
Which I got married in 2009.
Yeah.
So I remember going to beauty school and sitting in the break room when we were looking at Us Weekly, People magazine.
Yeah.
That's how you got your pop culture, like you got your smut. That's how you read it you bought a magazine and you read it. You couldn't like go online. You couldn't. I mean, you could. Perez Hilton was around, but now the movie stars have their own Instagrams. They put out content, and people don't have to buy
plus
it.
your phone knows what content to show you. Mm-hmm. It builds based on your browsing history
And it's a lot easier, though, I will say, for good talent to get noticed. Like if you post a really good YouTube video.
Oh, yeah. If we'd had this kind of stuff when I was young, I'd have been a star.
You probably would have.
Because...
like there was a YouTube video floating around of this lady who was singing in the bathroom in Disney World as she was a custodian, and she was singing Disney music, and a guest walked in there and just started recording her, and then she went viral, and all her dreams came true. She went from custodian to like singing in Disney because of the phone.
Yeah, and that's why to this day a lot of people are non-Bieber because of how Bieber got to where he is.
Yeah, but Bieber is talented.
I know, but there's the Biebers, non-Biebers, because of the way Bieber did it. Bieber did it.
They are jealous just like you were of Ryan Seacrest.
I love Bieber.
Yeah.
I'm a big Bieber fan myself.
Okay, so let's get back to your life. We'll talk about you. So tell us about your journey from being a bar rat to now you're going to Bible study.
Well, I ended up working at WSHO for a brief time on Howard Avenue in New Orleans. I was in transition. I was trying to find an out-of-town gig. I wanted to get out of here. And the radio station got sold to another owner, and so they called everybody into a room, and we're firing everybody. People are turning in their keys, getting their final check, and I was the last guy there, and they told me, hey, we want you to stay. And out of everybody. So they got rid of everybody, but at everybody there, they wanted me to stay. I said, okay, great. What's going to be the format? Here's the big question. Drum roll, please. And they said, adult contemporary Christian. All right. And so I told them.
What year was this?
This was 1980. When was this? 83?
I believe this is when,
83,
from what
82.
So around this time, wasn't this the beginning of contemporary Christian music?
It was the very beginning.
Because it wasn't a thing until the 80s.
No, and the big guy was Dion DiMucci. He used to be with Dion and the Belmonts. He was a big artist, and they had people like the Resurrection Band and DeGarmo and Key and Farrell, and the who were the other ones? Rise Again. I can't remember, but Sandy Patty.
Yeah, she's an OG.
Oh, of course, and Amy Grant.
Oh, yeah, Amy Grant, Sandy Patty. Wasn't who else was back then? Ron Canoli, Carmen.
Carmen, yeah. Ron Canoli was a preacher.
I thought he sang.
No. The guy was, what was his name? Oh, man. They tried to bust him for cocaine, but it was Herbalife. It was a protein drink.
Oh, my God, who?
Oh, geez. He was big. Andre Crouch. Remember him? Andre Crouch. No, he didn't play.
Protein chick?
Yeah, he didn't play for the Cubs. That was Andre Dawson. No, Andre Crouch. And they found some powder in his car one night, And
it's like Michael Scott with the caprese salad with Toby.
And it was Herbalife. But there I started, my name on the air was Simon Peter. Okay.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was Simon
Big
Peter.
eye roll.
Yeah, Simon Peter playing the hits. And,
Lame-o.
I told him I will stay until I find another job. And then I started, listening to the words of the music. Of course, my brother and my friend Keith Collins, who's not the pastor of my church, were, obviously always praying for me, because, I'm telling you, I was not on the right track.
You were a little rough.
Yeah. And so I started listening to the words, and the music started to get to me. And I started listening to a little vignette. We used to play Grace to You by John MacArthur. It was a little 10-minute thing.
Really?
Yeah. And through
Does
the Bible.
Matt know this?
J. Vernon McGee. I don't
think Matt knows that.
Yeah. And so I started hearing the gospel when I wasn't sneaking to the stairwell to smoke a joint. I was hearing the word of God, and then I never listened to the radio station when I wasn't there. And I wasn't necessarily unhappy there. It was just a road to something else. And I'm driving along, and I'm having this conversation with, at that point, I thought it was with myself, but it really didn't. It really wasn't. Shoot me if you think I'm weird. And, of course, I knew by hearing the radio things how you kind of give your life to Christ. You just say, hey, I'm a sinner. You died for my sins. Forgive me. And, I'll live the rest of my life for you, which I've off and on. It's been a sanctification process. I just pulled over on David Drive. I didn't know what to do. I had to do something ceremonial because I was raised Catholic. And I got out of my 1980 Chevy Monza hatchback and got on my knees and prayed. And that was it. Came home. My grandmother was there. Nani, a little short, 4'10", 300 pound. I mean, not three, maybe 180.
Dad, oh my God.
And she's got the covadilles on the counter. She's making homemade covadilles. That's macaroni. It's all over the counter. And I tell her, I just throwing away all this paraphernalia and stuff that I had in my room. And from there, I picked up a Bible and started reading it. And I was going like, whoa. And shortly after that, I met, God gave me Martha, my fantastic wife. And I think I met her in, like April. Of course, my late great friend Wesley Van Pelt, who recently passed away, introduced us. And,
So, okay, let's talk about how you and Mom met, because I think that's a funny story. So I'll give some backstory. My mom was, at the time, engaged to her high school sweetheart, and it wasn't working out. She was young. She was 19, and she said she just knew that it wasn't right anymore. So they broke up, and she met my dad 2 weeks later. Now, keep in mind, she was engaged, so like she had the whole wedding planned. Venue, everything was planned, paid for with her own money.
Yes, DH Homes.
Worked for it.
The wedding ring I actually had, she got from the Lost and Found at the DH Homes.
Dad, that's not true.
It's a true story. Call her. I'll call her right now.
That's not true.
What do I get if I'm right? What do I get? I'll call her right now. What do I get? What's the bet? Come on.
I don't want to bet. I just don't think that's true.
Big talker, she is.
What do I want? I will take some money.
You got to cook me beef stroganoff.
Oh, you don't want me to cook for you.
I got the recipe.
No, let me ask the question when she answers.
Here it comes.
She's not going to answer. She's busy at church.
She better answer.
And go away. Hello.
Hey, Mom, it's Katie. Mom.
Hey. Yes.
Mom, we're doing the podcast right now, and I have a question for you.
Okay.
So when you and Dad got engaged, is it true that you found your first engagement ring at the Lost and Found in DH Homes?
My wedding band.
You didn't say that. You said hers.
No, my wedding band. I didn't say that.
Mom, what's true?
His wedding band came from the Lost and Found.
You know what? I misunderstood the question.
You owe me a snowball.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Mom. We'll call you back in 5 minutes.
Martha. How about another one of them grape sodas?
Mom, hang up.
Another one of them grape sodas.
I love when you just hear the boop, boop, boop. So anyway.
The Loria boys will love that.
She was previously engaged to her high school sweetheart, 19. They're donezo, okay? Mm-hmm. She meets my dad 2 weeks later. They met in April. They were married in August.
Right.
She basically just inserted groom here from the previous wedding. She remembers calling DH Homes, which is now Dillard's.
No, Gem, the invitations. Gem.
No. It was about the China pattern.
Well, it was also about Gem.
I'm sure it was about the gems,
I'll tell you the Gem story.
She calls DH Homes and says, "Hi, yes, I need to change something about my China pattern." And they're like, "Yes, ma'am, what is it?" And she's like, "The groom's name."
It's the same thing with the invitations.
I said, that lady went home and talked about you at her dinner table that night.
It's the same thing with invitations. I need to change the invitations to the. What do I need to change? The groom's name.
So met in April, got married by August, and married ever since. How many years?
Going on, I think 39.
I never remember how.
It's 39 next month. 39 years.
36, 39.
And
just so you know, you said you've been a father for how many years? I'm only 36.
But this is my 37th Father's Day.
Okay.
No, I believe me. I did my homework.
Okay,
I at least did that. I'm
like, don't age me one more year.
No. No, it.
We were talking about Mom and the China pattern, and then you guys getting married and being married.
Yeah. And she was 19. I was 22. Oh, no, 23. She was 19. I was 23. And I have probably been, and I don't know if this is I've been like 15 different dudes in that time. I'm nowhere near the same guy that she married. I'm nowhere near the guy that was 5 years after that. I'm nowhere near the guy that was 10 years after that. I'm nowhere near the guy that was 20 years after that. I mean, it's just amazing. I think back and I look what has taken place. We've had a very, very adventurous, we growing up and we had a good time. We had a little adventurous time.
So you guys got married, and then you had me and Emmy. So I was born in 86. Emmy was born in 89.
Mm-hmm.
And then the journey across the United States of America begins.
Well, when you came along, I'll never forget. At that time, I had a relationship with a confidential limousine service, Jamie over there, who ended up marrying one of the lawyers. I can't remember which one he is, one of the TV lawyers. I can't remember which one it is. And so we brought you home in a limousine. And we brought you in Talmadge, which are some friends up in Henleyfield, Mississippi, bought us a little cradle, for you. And we put you in that little cradle. We just looked at each other and said, now what do we do? I mean, we had no idea what to do.
Every first-time parent, I think, looks at their baby and they're like,
but you were the most beautiful little blue-eyed Italian girl. And my Martha's grandmother, Teresa, who was an unbelievable lady, she, of course, favored me because out of all the kids, Martha married a real Italian boy. Mm-hmm. And she would just come over and play with you and go, she's a real Italian girl.
I'm apparently one of the most Italian in the Zanka family, is what Aunt Donna said.
Oh, you have more Italian than any of the Zankas.
And I don't know how to cook a single spaghetti, red sauce, meatball, meatball. She's like, are you kidding me? You're the most Italian one in the family.
You don't have to, unfortunately.
Okay, so wait, did you want to say something else or can I ask the next?
No, go ahead.
Next one. Okay, so I can't really remember how old I was, but we left New Orleans and I think our first stop was Memphis, correct?
Correct.
And
Scripps Howard Broadcasting, Union Avenue, WMC Radio and Television.
And then in Memphis.
Where we had wrestling every Saturday morning.
In Memphis is where we met the McPhails, which is still a family that we're very close with still.
Yes.
And
Precious family.
From Memphis, we went to Dallas.
Yes. Dallas, Y95. I went to work for Buzz Bennett, who was a famous program director. I worked with Scott Ginsburg, who owned Evergreen Broadcasting. And, Memphis was a place that we could have... Dallas. Memphis was a place where we probably could have stayed forever. It was a great company. But I was ambitious.
You were chasing something.
Yeah. It was funny because I wanted to end up back in Chicago, which I did, but it wasn't ideal. I wanted to end up with Ginsburg's organization, The Loop. And Scott Ginsburg, the owner, he loved me. Mm-hmm. He absolutely loved me. But I wasn't, I go, man, when can I work at The Loop? You're not ready. You're not
kept
ready.
Just like working.
Yeah. So I jumped and he never forgave me for that. And he was just a great guy. And if I'd have stuck with, there was just so many things that I did because I was antsy. I wanted to get there fast, and I was always chasing this rabbit in the radio business. And the big break I never really ever got. And now that I'm not doing it anymore, believe it or not, I get more offers to go back into radio than I ever got when I was in radio. And now I'm not interested because what am I going to do? I mean, I'm not moving anywhere. I can't. I got grandkids.
Right. So in Dallas, how long were we there? It didn't seem very long.
Well, because when I got to Dallas, Randy Lane, who I left in Memphis, ended up in L.A. where he was hiring Ryan Seacrest. He was talking to Lorna Osmond, who was my dad's boss at NBC. She was in Chicago at Mix, and I finally got on in Chicago at Mix as operations director.
From Memphis to Dallas to Chicago.
Yeah.
We weren't in Chicago very long either.
No, Chicago was one of these things where I was working for Bonneville Broadcasting, which are the Mormons. Mm-hmm. All right. And they all wore these weird little mood rings. They come in town from Salt Lake. Yeah. And they come to view the station. And
it could be like were they polygamists?
I don't know.
I was going to say.
I called it a mood ring. They all had the same ring.
Yeah, because they're you don't watch Sister Wives, Dad.
No, I don't watch
They all have the same, each little clan, like they all wear like the same ring and then they're all like married.
Well, what happened in Chicago is that Lorna, who, I wish maybe we can find her. I would love to talk to Lorna Osmond again. I, in the radio business, made it a point never to work for a woman. I don't know why. It just wasn't something I was interested in. I would turn down jobs.
Probably just how you were raised.
Yeah. I didn't say that. And so when I got to work with Lorna, I loved Lorna. And the thing about Lorna was Dad's boss at NBC in Chicago. And she didn't like Dad too much, but she loved me. And what happened was, after we were there for a while, she got fired, and then when she was gone, I was going to be gone because the next guy comes in, and he's got his own ideas. You know? And so that was.
So you saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah, I saw the writing on the wall, and
then what happened?
Well, when that happened, I had an opportunity to do something that I had never done before, and that is work in radio and television syndication out on the West Coast. And Dana Miller came calling with the entertainment radio networks in Malibu and offered me a job. I jumped on it. I said,
oh, yeah.
You kidding me? Malibu?
I know.
I'm on my way. And it was awesome. I mean, I remember when we left to go there because there was a little time in between, so we came back here for a while. And I remember when we drove to L.A., we had our 4-cylinder Mustang, the 4-cylinder crappy Mustang.
Two-door like coupe.
Hatchback.
Yeah.
And pulling a trailer with all our belongings. I had $200 in my pocket. And we drove I-10 through the Mojave Desert, all that, and drove straight to L.A. I mean, I remember I drove straight through. I was taking no dose and drinking coffee. The girls in the hatchback sleeping. Of course, they all sleep on you. No one's keeping you awake.
Well, it was the middle of the night.
Yeah, and I'm driving. I drove all the way to Las Cruces, Mexico. It was midday, and we checked into this little motel. I'm still hot.
I remember that motel.
Yeah, the little motel. And so Martha and the kids go by the pool. I'm going in the room to take a nap with the orange bedspread. And I'm sitting there, and I'm looking at the ceiling. I'm going, man, I'm not going to be able to sleep. This is a waste of time. I go back up to the front desk. I said, hey, you know what? I think we're going to hit the road again. Can I get any of my money back? And so they gave me $15 back. And when you only have $200, that's almost 10%. And we jumped in, and I drove the rest of the way, all the way to Los Angeles. And that's where our life began, at the Good Night Inn. The Good Night Inn.
The Good Night Inn.
Yes.
It was a motel.
Yep.
In Calabasas.
And everybody knew us. Everybody knew Emmy, and we hung out by the pool. And
How long did we live at that motel?
Oh, a couple months. Because it was so hard at first to find a place to live. We didn't have a lot of money, and I wanted to be in a good school district, and we ended up in the Las Virgenes School District in Calabasas, and just a great neighborhood, and you got to go to great schools, and God just provided. We had a Johnny Carson backyard view. It was just,
I know, it was. He's getting emotional. I think the thing with California is that those were the years where I feel like I kind of grew up too. Like, I was there from first grade through about a little bit of third grade. And
Lupin Hill.
Yeah. And other than Lupin Hill, I went to a little bit of Peach Hill and Moore Park. But other than that, that was the longest I was at a school. Then I went to the same amount when I came back and went to Victory for 3 years. But the longest was Cabrini after that. So I feel like those times of my life is when that was a big, consistent time of growth or whatever. Same as Victory, same as Cabrini. But the thing about us living in California is we didn't have any family out there. So it was really a time when the four of us grew very close together. Whenever I was in therapy just by myself.
By the way, you say I need to talk to somebody, so I'm talking to somebody.
I'm not a therapist. Yeah. Anyway, in therapy, she was talking about what are some of your fun memories when you were a kid? And I was saying, this is so crazy, but driving around in California, going on my auditions, it was a whole summer of it. And I know it sounds crazy, but it was because we were all together. Yeah. We were constantly together in the car, driving around, it was family time.
Running through lines.
Exactly. Yep. So it's those were just really good memories. Everyone was really happy out there. We met our very close friends, still close friends, the Mangeos.
Minus Matt, who hates me.
No, he doesn't.
Tried to kill me twice. I was talking to Jerry. I was talking to Jerry Teal Kyle, whatever, Jerry and
Linda.
No, Jerry, Matt's cousin in
Talio.
Yeah, Talio.
Yeah.
And I was telling him how Matt tried to kill me twice. Yeah,
But I think that's why that place is so special. But so we're out in California, the well's running dry, and then what happened?
Yeah. It all started with the earthquake. You know, we had that big Northridge earthquake that we were in the middle of. One morning, 4:30, Martin Luther King Day, 1992, I believe, 1993 it was. And I heard it coming, the roar of it coming, the coyotes outside the window going crazy, and all of a sudden, bam, it hits, and the house is bouncing up and down like it's on a jackhammer. I'm going down the hall. I look, and there's Katie. I'm in my underwear, of course, and I'm always in my underwear. The neighbors over on Marcia.
The style of your underwear has changed, but you're still always in it. I will say, do you know it's not normal for a daughter to see her dad in his underwear? But for me, it was extremely normal.
What was the deal? I didn't even know.
Dude, I remember telling somebody who was like, no, like, I mean, I saw my dad in his underwear all the time. And they're like, I don't.
What is it? It's like a bathing suit.
They're
What's
like,
the big
no,
difference?
you can't. You don't. And I was like, I could pick my dad's butt out in a lineup as many times as he mooned me growing up as a child. They're like, really? That's so different.
Lack of butt. No, as a matter of fact, we had some neighbors on here in Lakeview on Marcia Drive that I had a closet that was kind of by the front door, and they used to see me in my underwear a lot. The neighbors, they told me, dude, you need to.
Well, once you break the seal, just keep doing it. Yeah. Who cares? So
I go and look. Katie's in her bed. She's sitting straight up with her eyes, big blue eyes wide open, like, what the heck's going on? Martha was sleeping with Emily because I guess I was snoring or something, and they were sleeping through it. I'm, what the heck's going on? You're sleeping through this thing? It's an earthquake. And
he's like, get under a table.
And we got under a table, which I don't know if that's what you should do. Come to find out it wasn't. You're supposed to run outside or something.
Yeah.
And it was quite the experience.
I remember waking up and seeing my lamp just swirling around like a circle. And then
earthquakes are cool. We talked about this on the last show with the Barista Boys. Is that it's funny because the aftershocks were the best part. We'd be eating dinner and everybody would pause while the shaking, and then when it stopped, everybody was no big deal.
That's how it was in school. You'd be like, here, have an aftershock. Everybody just gets under their desk. It's over. You get back up. You finish your work. Like, it's a way of life out there. Earthquakes.
At that time, I was working for Cutler Comedy. It was a comedy club, a comedy service where we would do pre-recorded bits for morning shows and radio. And I was doing a lot of the writing of the comedy and doing parody songs and doing kind of stuff that I kind of always wanted to do. It wasn't radio, but it was something else. And it's funny because everything that I did kind of prepared me for the next thing.
Yeah.
And it was just really neat how that happened. I had no idea what was going on. I'm just meandering through life. But the well ran dry, and I was always an independent contractor. And, it was time to leave. So, of course, we always come run back here where we had family.
Recoup.
And regroup.
Well, I was going to say how you're when you said you realize how everything was the next step. It's like hindsight's always 20/20. It's like when you're going through it, you're not, obviously you don't know. And then you look back and you're like, oh, that's what that was for. That was for this. And then that was for this. And then it's like, who knows where you'd be now if you wouldn't have.
We had a lot of fun there. Of course, we had David Brandolino to entertain us, who was our buddy. He's a guy that I worked with. And remember the time we had Terry over and we recorded the conversation? We had a guy, Terry. I don't remember his last name. We used to call him Terry McScrotum.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Terry McScrotum. He was a weird guy, and he'd come over and we'd record the conversations. And but the thing about California,
it's like y'all were my age at this time. How old were you?
Oh, it was early 30s.
Exactly. This is the same stuff we would do. Do right now. It's like y'all were doing it all.
Well, here's the thing. I was a big Saints fan, and in those days, and to the when the Saints play on Sunday, unless you're playing a primetime game or a national game, the game started at noon our time. Well, in California, it's 10 a.m. And we used to go to church at 10 a.m. And when the Saints were on LA television, I would sneak into the audio-visual room at the church during the service and watch the Saints. And Frank, what's his name?
Yeah, Bush.
Frank Bush would catch me. Get back there in church. What are you doing watching the Saints game? I'm sitting there skipping church watching the Saints game.
And we just saw the Bushes, at the wedding. Okay, so from California, we came back home, recouped, and then we went to...
That's when Teddy called.
Amarillo, Texas.
That's what Teddy called. who is the co-host of this podcast. You know him, the elder statesman, the old fart. My love, my darling. I love him so much. He called me and said, "Hey, look, man, I'm down here in Amarillo, and we got this top 40 station. You know, I want to do a morning show. I want you to do the morning show with me." And, you know, the money wasn't good. But, you know, a lot of these places when you worked in radio, even though you didn't make the money, everything was free. Like we worked in California, we didn't have money, but we went to Disneyland for free.
I know.
We went to
Ate at
baseball
Red
games.
Robin.
We got to do everything. And, of course, in L.A., there's always the beach, and that's free.
Free.
So we never really knew we were poor.
I never knew I was poor.
You know, I mean, in the 80s, if you're making $80,000 a year and you have a wife and 2 kids, I mean, that's not a lot of money. But God took care of us. You were able to go to a great school, a public school in the Las Virgin School District, where people pay millions to get in that school district now. You know, right where we lived, above in the original track. I know that Dr. Dre lived up there. Nia Peoples lived up there, and Nia's kids went to school with you. I don't know if you knew any of them. I don't know if they were your age, but and that's Mario's sister, who's these are acting people, but. Where the Kardashians live now is what they built below us. Remember, like if you were sitting at Lupin Hill and you look down below between that and the LA free and the 101, the Hollywood freeway, that's where they put that track in, where the Kardashians live.
I don't know what that is. Where is that in relation to the Taco Bell and the McDonald's?
Well, it's before that. Yeah, it's before that. It's like it's kind of like in that area, like where the Sagebrush was, Cantina. Remember we were driving through there one time and a deer jumped over our car?
Yeah.
Kind of like in that area.
Yeah.
It was like a wooded area. Now it's, you know, but people pay millions to live in that neighborhood now.
So Teddy calls you.
And of course, Bill Teague, we used to go to Big Bear because Bill Teague had a condo there. That was free. So everything was free.
Bill Teague was our landlord.
And we were in Amarillo. Steve Howard with the Yellow Submarine, the late Steve Howard, a dear man, dear friend, great guy. Him and his wife, Sheila, they owned a restaurant and they fed us every night.
Yep.
They're just great people. The people in Amarillo were fantastic.
They were really nice.
It was just I wasn't a bad place.
That was definitely
That's when I
a dark time.
discovered what depression can do to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a bad time.
I mean, do you want to talk about that?
Not really. Let me just say this. And we did, last year in season 3, we did a mental illness awareness month and had some really great stories and some great people on and talked about mental illness and things like that. And let me just say this to you. If you do have a problem with that, you definitely need to seek some help, but you need to get the right help, and medication is not it. Some of these behavior medications that they put you on. Well,
it could be, but if your family is telling you that the medication is probably not working.
Yeah. And it changes you. It changes you. And in that situation, the stuff that I was taking was literally stealing my soul from me. And so,
it wasn't the right formula at all.
And to this day, I'm just crazy, and I just live with being crazy. That's all.
He needs to go to therapy, everyone.
Katie, Daddy, you need to go talk to somebody.
He does.
I don't want to talk to anybody.
That's when you need to go talk to somebody. Okay, so from Amarillo, Knoxville.
Yeah, I mean, at that point.
Which is the weirdest, because country music is literally the worst.
Well, here's what happened.
2 boutiques chased me out the other day with their country music. Hate it.
Well, one of the great guys that I met in the radio business was a guy by the name of Don Anthony, and Don is still around. And Don was a guy that did a morning show boot camp for all the major market morning shows. And at one time, Don got me a really good job as a program director at 95 WQ in Charlotte. And remember, I went to Charlotte for about 4 months. And I don't know if you remember that.
No.
You guys never moved there because I was there 4 months. Same thing.
When was this?
This was between Chicago and L.A. Okay, so I ended up there in Charlotte, and was same thing. Once again, a guy hired me, someone else came in, and then that just didn't work out. But Don Anthony was a guy that was very pro Vic. Guys like, guys that were fans of mine, and there were guys that weren't. And I can name some of them. One of them is Shadow Stevens, if you're listening, who wouldn't know talent if it hit him right in the face.
That sounds very bitter.
Yeah. Freaking idiot.
Oh my God.
So, but people like, Don Anthony, Randy Lane.
Randy Lane really is
Donnie
the
Goodman.
nicest human being.
Yeah.
Always smiling.
Scott Ginsburg.
Nice guy.
Yeah, Scott Ginsburg. And of course, Dana Miller, who I always have a fondness for.
So you went to Knoxville. We were there like what? Like not even a year?
Well, the thing was there.
A half a year.
I was the program director of the station, and I was doing afternoons. And my name was Jack Daniels, but I guess the way I talked was not very palatable for the people in Knoxville. I used to get calls about being a Yankee, and I started to get death threats. Wasn't
a good fit.
I was a top 40 guy doing country, and
they smelled they smelled it. You were a fraud. They smelled it from a mile away.
And then there were a couple guys at the station that were sabotaging me, trying to get me out, and that stuff happens. And that was one of the real reasons why I got out when I got out.
So that was my next question. Like, when did you realize like it was time to come home and like the career change situation?
It was Halloween 1996. Halloween night, I was working late doing the music log for the next day because I would do some of the music and not knowing what I was doing. But I had a great music director there. She was great. She ended up working with my brother Michael. Her name escapes me right now, but she was sweet. And for some reason, I was doing the music logs that night because she was on vacation or something. And I was sitting there, I was just thinking, I was going, man, this ain't working. And the guy that was the director, his name was Don Hayes. At that time, he was the general manager. He happened to be in the office that night. And I just walked in and I said, Don, I go, what? I said, dude, I'm gone. I can't do this no more. All the death threats and it's just not working. It's not fair to you guys, And the Perkles were the guys that owned the radio station. They were very nice people. And one thing about being in Knoxville that was great is I got to go to all the Tennessee football home games, Peyton Manning's junior year, and it was a blast. It was a blast. I had a good time in Knoxville. It just wasn't a fit, and it was the beginning of the end for, Vic in the radio business.
We did have really nice neighbors in Knoxville. It was very pretty.
And you had a teacher that won the Disney, she won the Disney Teacher of the Year award.
Yep, Miss Pierman, Gwen Taft Pierman. She was like the best fourth grade teacher. And then, but I definitely even though all that was great, it didn't feel like it was like forever or like a good fit. Something didn't feel like something felt off,
Right.
So what about the career change? Like what made you, how did that come about?
Well, I figured, I'm going to get out of radio. And I said, I'm tired of chasing around and moving around. Let's just go back home. And of course, all along we were gone, we were always in contact, with our local church here, Lakeview Christian Center, which I'm, still very much a part of. And of course, one of my best friends and my childhood friend and my brother's childhood friend, Keith Collins, is the pastor. And it's funny how his kids hang out at your house, and it's just crazy. We got stuff here that, most people don't have, in spite of the weather and people jumping on top of police cars.
All right, you guys are words, bro? Hey, and I wasn't fighting in the bathroom. I was breaking up something.
It's not bad, but the food's good. So I was going to just come back here, and I knew a friend of mine, Clay McClendon, who was in the car business, and I was going to sell cars because I did have a little experience selling cars in one of my many jobs.
Yeah.
And then when I came here, that just never happened because Martha's first cousin, was working at a precious metals and rare coin firm, and I ended up getting on there, and I guess the rest is history.
The rest is history. You had a knack for investments and making things that are hundreds of thousands of dollars seem very valuable, which they are.
I'm a phone professional is what I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all that was training when I worked for Entertainment Radio, and I was talking to heads of relevant television and radio companies and film companies. And
you did the sales thing out in did that.
And of course, another thing that gave me experience, selling on the phone is when Mom and Dad had the Louisiana Sportsman show.
That is true.
In the Superdome, and we'd put on
Selling
an outdoor
boots.
show every year, and I would sell boots. And of course, Dad would never pay me. I was always the last guy to get paid. And, family businesses.
I just want to say, this is what I was going to say, is...
I pay people for doing nothing.
Anyway, I was going to say, all of this is on you don't have a high school diploma. I hate to break it to the world.
No, I don't. I have an 11th grade education. I'm proud of it.
Doesn't even have a high school diploma and has really just worked. And I do feel like the just quintessential American dream type of thing. Like if you can just work hard and, put your mind to something, like it's possible. And I mean, you were how old when you bought your first house? It was
I was
late.
37 years old when I bought my first house.
But look, and it's like, it seemed like it took, maybe it seemed like it took forever for you at times, but like you were on your own journey, your own time frame. And like now look at you.
Nobody's got it better than me. Nobody.
But I will say you worked very hard for it and still do.
Here's the thing, and especially when you think about today and the struggles that young couples have with this, for instance, childcare. And the perils of childcare, and I'm in it now as a grandparent, somewhat in it, and I just knew this at a very early age that I was going to work, I was going to do whatever I had to do so that my kids were going to be home with their mom.
Yeah,
and when they weren't home with their mom, that they went to a good school, and I knew that much, and I made sure I picked up. Man, when I was at B97. I made so much money doing appearances, and I was on the bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah tour. And all these, Jewish families, lovely Jewish families, would have me go to their son's bar mitzvah and their daughter's bat mitzvahs. And I'd show up as the B97 radio guy and hand out, in those days, cassettes.
And koozies?
And koozies and, talk to the kids. I'd stay there about 45 minutes and make $800.
Oh, wow. I wish I could do that. That sounds like fun.
So, I mean, no matter what it was, I made sure that I remember one time we did something out in California. We had to do something. We brought Emily to one of these places and dropped her off and picked her up, and the horror of picking her up and the experience that she had.
That's where her son gets it from.
Yeah. And I remember saying, you know what, Vic, this is why you always did what you did. But I was working. I was always working. And now I hardly work. But
when you do, you're working hard.
I work smart now.
So I think this would be a really cool question to ask. Like, what do you see for yourself in the next 5 years?
Well, I'll tell you what, let's take a break. Okay, because, this is a 2-part series, and we'll come back with more of part 2 of this Father's Day special on All Over the Podcast with me and my beautiful daughter, Katie. We'll be right back.
Get to know the king of all podcasting like never before. Daughter interviews dad on All Over the Road, New Orleans.
I don't care what people tell you, inflation is here. They're about ready to put a tax on beef, a tax on pork. Have you seen the price of milk? Inflation is here. Shortages are here. And financially, you got to figure out what the heck you're going to do with excess cash. They call it discretionary income. Well, the best thing that you need to do is to contact our friends at Coin Trader Inc. They deal in all the precious metals, rare coins. It's completely private. You don't need a social security number. You could be Bozo the Clown and open an account with Coin Trader. They've been around for 15 years. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Call them today and protect your hard-earned wealth. Gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and rare U.S. and ancient coins. They're experts in all that stuff. Give them a call at 504-267-6004 and tell them the king of all podcasts sent you.
Just who is the king of all podcasting? Well, keep listening. It's All Over the Road, New Orleans.
Yes, my good man. I said, what do you see for yourself in the next 5 years? Which would mean you'll be how old?
I'm 61 years old, and it never became more real than when I decided to go play softball last weekend with former Saint Josh Hill, my friend, who said, "Yeah, you can come out there. How hard can it be?" Well, I almost had heat stroke or whatever, and I realized that there are some things that I can do now at age 61 better than I did before. Way better.
Like what?
Oh, like, for instance, this kind of thing. I think I'm a lot better now at this than I used to be. I'm stronger than I've ever been.
And wiser.
But there's just some things that you just can't do. But, seeing myself in 5 years, here's the thing. I was always, trying to work hard. And I tried to do my best to I never did a job that I didn't want to be good at it. Like when I worked at a restaurant at Poppin' Fresh Pies, in Chicago, I was a 16-year-old. I worked the grill, and I wouldn't put out a burger that didn't look really good. It had to look good on the plate. And when I put a plate up under the light and yelled at Wendy Donato to pick that darn food up, who was my classmate waitress, Wendy. And, it had to look good. So no matter what I ever did, I wanted to be really good at it. I took pride in everything that I did, even if it was something that was menial. I mean, it was something, so that I've always had that, I'm not going to do something and do it, half-ass. I'm going to give it, my best effort. So I did that. And then, of course, being as an entrepreneur, as I've been, there's times when you pour into people, you mentor people, you pour into them. Now I'm in a phase in my life where I'm really wanting to make some kind of impact. I'm really wanting to make a difference. It's, and to me, it's all about relationships. And so I'm in a phase in my life right now where I am like, the thing that really juices me is developing new relationships. And I think if you're a person that if you can't make 1 to 2 new meaningful relationships a year, you're doing something wrong. I mean, there's somebody that you can impact. There's somebody that you can have that kind of relationship with. I have a lot of deep relationships. Now, of course, my immediate family, you would be on the Mount Rushmore of relationships, one of the top 4. But I have, young men in my life, just guys. And, I just want to do things that, kind of make a difference. And I'm looking more at things that have a eternal return. Yeah. Rather than something here. I'm not living for here. Yeah. And this podcast has become, somewhat of a platform. Ever since I was a little kid, one of my problems was, especially in school, is that my biggest pleasure, I try to make people laugh, and I did some stand up in my past too, which made me realize how hard it is to stand in front of people and make them laugh. It's a lot easier to just kind of make them laugh instead of, hey, Vic, make me laugh. Yeah. And, there's obviously a wit is definitely a gifting in my family. All my family's witty. My brothers are witty. My mom's witty. My dad's witty. Everybody's witty. You're witty. Everybody, we're all witty. Martha's witty. I mean, if you can't be witty, you can't be in this family. And so, the podcast, obviously, I think laughter is one of the greatest medicines on earth. I think... not to try to, quote Jimmy Valvano, but, I think everybody should, every day should have at least some kind of deep thought. In my case, prayer every day. I think everyone should laugh every day and everyone should cry every day.
Cry every day?
Every day.
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, well, you make yourself do it. No, but these are the things. I mean, there are people, in my life. Obviously, my family comes first, but there are people in my life, people at the church, just people around me, neighbors, the community that, I don't want to leave this place without making, some kind of impact. Yeah. So that's where I'm at now. I mean, that's my main focus. I
think that's like so healthy. I think that we're living in a time where everyone is so sad and so needing of someone and something. And one of the best things that, I struggle with this as well, where if you get too much in your head about how you feel or what's going on in your heart or in your mind, you can become extremely self-absorbed and then you could like go into this hole or whatever. But the best thing for us to be happy and for us to feel whole, one of the best things is to make our life about others. Because when you look to them and you're serving them, you don't have time to worry about yourself. And then you're happy because we're not made or created to be like, we thrive and we find fulfillment and happiness when we sacrifice like Jesus. Following the examples of the way Jesus Christ lived his life. I mean, even if you aren't a Christian, you can't deny, a lot of scholars will argue as well, that he lived a life that is worth emulating. And the product of emulating Jesus Christ, whether you think he's the savior of the world or not, you will be a happier person. And just making your life about others is definitely like the start to that, Well,
C.S. Lewis is living proof of, how you can go from 0 to 100, Max McLean just put out a movie. It's called The Most Unlikely Convert: The Untold Story of C.S. Lewis. It was just recently at the. Now it's a film. It's an hour and 14 minutes, and you must watch it because you can really. That's kind of what it's all about. But I think what it is that when you get to a point when you're my age and you start to think of things really important, like my thought life is completely different than what it was just 2-3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And you just get to a point where you say, I can't, you can't listen to the noise around you. Mm-hmm. You just got to get focused in. But relationships, meaningful relationships, one of the biggest joys I have is sitting back and watching you and Matt and kind of how your life is kind of mirrored me and Martha and how you relate to people, how you bring people into your home. It's like everything we did.
Do you remember me screaming at Mom that one time?
Yeah, I'm never going to let anybody live in my house.
Yeah. You have the gift. I don't have the gift. Yeah. No one's living in my house. Yeah. How many guests have I had now?
Yeah, well, hey, you learn.
God was laughing in heaven when I did that. Yeah,
he likes to laugh. He's got a good sense of humor, that's for sure.
Well, I was wondering if we could wrap up the podcast by doing what I do at the end of, or I used to do, at the end of the Motivation Station with Katie Bellarino.
Oh, yeah? And which, by the way, you got to get back on the air. The network needs you.
They really do. They need me.
If you come back, I'll get you a nice microphone like mine.
Well, thank you.
This is a nice one. That is a good microphone. Believe me, people, I don't sound this good.
Can we do it?
My brother Michael turned me on to this.
It's a nice mic.
Yeah, and by the way, we're about ready to make major improvements to the studios. Oh, also coming up on a future show, we got Demario Davis with the New Orleans Saints. He's going to be on, and also Allison Luff, the lovely actress who I'm a big fan of from the Stars hit series Heels, all coming up in the next couple shows. So
at the end of every episode, we do the lightning round with the guest, and I ask you questions, and this is off the cuff, unrehearsed. Got it? You just gotta.
Got it.
You gotta whatever pops in your head. Yes.
Okay.
Quick.
Do I have to hit the buzzer? Oh, no, sorry.
Wait, what? That was the
Don't forget, I'm going to tell the toenail story at the end.
Okay. Do you want to do that now, or do you want me to do my
No, let's do the lightning round, then we'll do the toenail story.
Okay,
first of all, I think you really kind of wussed out on this, and you didn't ask any questions to really scare me.
I did. I said, do you want to talk about your depression? And you said no.
I talked about it a little.
You didn't.
I talked about it
And we're not going back now, because the moment has passed. I tried. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
What is your favorite word?
Wow.
Wow is your favorite word?
No. What is my favorite word? I don't know. Like, what is my favorite? I have no idea. Has anybody ever said they have no idea?
They normally just think of something.
So is this the first thing that comes to my mind?
Yeah.
Blank.
You literally think of nothing.
I really can't.
What is your least favorite word?
GD.
Yeah, you don't like when people...
No.
God.
GD or JC.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
In a vein.
Yeah.
But if I stub my toe, I'm gonna.
But that could be a prayer for healing on the toe when you scream his name.
No, but when I stub my toe, it's MF. That's not a prayer.
Oh no! You do not say the F word
every time. Every time I stub my toe.
I could maybe count on one hand how many times I've heard you say the F word, Dad.
Well, it's because you're not around when I stub my toe.
Maybe that's why. Okay, what makes
That's a default word for everyone that stubs their toe, by the way.
What makes you laugh?
What makes me laugh? Something that I see that I think is totally unexpected. Last year on America's Got Talent, this goofy guy came out and danced and did all these funny dance moves, and that made me laugh.
Physical comedy.
Yeah, physical comedy kind of makes me laugh.
You and Harper watch The Stooges.
Yeah, The Stooges. I love SpongeBob. I don't know, a lot of different things make me laugh. But I've got a problem, though, because there's things that I think are funny that aren't, and that's a problem.
Yeah. What makes you cry?
What makes me cry? You know what? What really makes me cry is looking back on things that I should have done that I didn't do, or I should have done differently. Regrets make me cry, yeah.
What sound or noise do you love?
a wooden bat hitting a horse-hide baseball.
I could
the crack of the bat is and I'll throw one in, and the smell of a hardware store. Remember when oh man, yeah.
I know that smell.
You know, they don't, and when you go to Home Depot, you don't get that smell. You got to be in a small.
Like Ace used to smell like that.
I love the smell of a hardware store. I do.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Oh, geez. You know what? If you got a really crappy laugh, I hate that. You know, if you got a really annoying laugh, oh God, it drives me nuts.
Like Janice.
Or like somebody that's got like you know, one of my nephews at home, they make these weird sounds. You know,
what the heck are you talking about?
I don't know. They just do these weird sounds.
Okay. Who is someone that you admire? They don't have to be alive.
They don't have to be alive?
Anyone, like person that you admire.
Well, I'd say probably, you know, I'm a big C.S. Lewis fan. Love C.S. Lewis. You know, Frank Loria would be a guy.
That's sweet. I hope he hears that.
Yeah. I don't know where I'd be right now if not for Frank Loria. I mean, you know,
Me neither.
So, you know, when I was younger, I was obviously a big Al Kaline fan. I liked Al Kaline and Muhammad Ali and Walt Frazier, who played for the New York Knicks, who I eventually got to meet and spend some time with, which was unbelievable. You know, when you see someone who is like a boyhood hero of yours and you're sitting down drinking a beer with them, that's kind of cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
What profession other than your own, so you can't name radio and you can't name selling coins?
Ventriloquist.
That's what you want to attempt.
Ventriloquist.
How did you?
I told you. Ventriloquist in the circus.
Dad, you actually would be really good in the circus.
I would like to be a ringmaster in the circus.
Oh, a ringleader, yeah.
If the circus came driving down the street right now, I'd join it.
I wouldn't stop you.
I've said that before.
I wouldn't stop you.
Yes.
What profession would you not want to do? Name out of everything that exists in the world.
Senior pastor of a church.
Really?
Senior pastor of a church, yes. Couldn't pay me enough.
I don't want to be a deal with garbage. Like
I actually
the
did that
stinky
too.
garbage.
I did that one summer too.
That they're only picking up once a week in New Orleans. I don't want to deal with that.
Well, we used to do it big time in Chicago. I used to work for Standard Equipment Company, and me and Joe Donlin would drive on the back of the trucks. We did that one summer. A great workout. We got ready for football that year. We were in shape. Let me tell you.
Okay, so these questions, I'm about to ask you the last one, but these questions are based from Inside the Actor's Studio. You remember that show?
Yeah.
So this is his last question that he would ask. So it is, if heaven exists, which I know you think it does, what would you like to hear God say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Vic, I got you a great spot with a mountain view and a cool breeze. And it's forever. And, well, there's many things I'd like to ask him, but I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't, you know, when you think of that song, I can only imagine. I think I'll be speechless.
I know. I think we all will.
Yeah.
I think we all will.
I'll definitely be speechless.
Well, I think that...
You have to slam your phone on the desk like that?
That wraps it up. That about wraps it up.
Boy, I tell you, this was something. So, you know, when you hear this music on the podcast, those you people know 4 seasons, that means I'm about to tell a story. And Katie and I have a really good, you know, thing that we used to do. And I tend to let my toenails grow a little long. You know, I probably should be a little more attentive.
And they look like they're a wooden creature.
Yeah.
They grow on a tree.
I have one toe that's wooden.
Bark.
My grandsons are actually convinced it's a wooden toe. It just seems to be that way all the time. And but anyway, I tend to let them grow. And what I used to do is I would cut them, and you know, I would leave them for Katie in like these weird places where she'd run across a toenail. And one year for Christmas, I had this really big one. It was like a big potato chip, but it was so nice. It was curved perfectly, wasn't it? It was a beautiful toenail.
Crescent shape.
Yeah, crescent shape. Thank you. and I cleaned it up really good, and I wrapped it up, and I put it in a ring box, like a ring. You know, like you got the little cushion, puffy thing you stick it in. Wrapped it up, and I said, "Here it is, Kate. This is just." She goes, "Oh my God!"
It was a Christmas present.
Yeah, how old were you? Like you're in your teens or something?
Oh my God, I think I was like 18, 19.
Really? No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
All right.
Because it was before Matt.
All right.
Was it?
There's a happy ending.
Yeah, we lived in Boca. We lived in Destrehan.
Yeah, there's a happy ending in this story. Might have been the white Christmas right before Katrina. It might have been. We had a white Christmas right before Katrina. That was December of 04.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was. I think it was. Yes.
Yeah. So it's in the ring box. You know, Martha wrapped it up really good. And she's, "Oh my God, I'm getting a ring." She opened it up, and there's my toenail. But I'll tell you what ended up happening with that toenail. One day, I'm drinking a cup of coffee. The barista boys did a cup of coffee. I'm having a cup of coffee, and before I know it, there's something in at the bottom that was crunchy. Now I made the cup. I was thinking maybe there was a little chocolate chip or a piece of cinnamon or something. A morsel, a little surprise, a little pleasant surprise, and it ended up being the actual toenail. And that is the rest of that story.
He kept threatening me, saying, "You better quit, stop doing this, or you better quit being annoying." He kept saying, "I have another toenail waiting for you, and it's larger than a potato chip," is what he kept saying. Little did he know, I had already snatched it, found it, and it was in his coffee.
Yeah,
when he wasn't looking, I just dropped it right on it. And me and my mom and my sister watched him sip that coffee. Every time his lips hit the cup, our eyes got wide in anticipation, took a breath, and then it'd be nothing. And we just kept waiting. Every time he was mouthing off. He was saying all kinds of things. And then at the end, it was in his mouth.
Here's the thing. If you ever think you're going to get the best of Katie, forget about it, because you will not. That just will not happen. She'll get you. I will say this, Katie. What the guys had to say about you with our little deal with the barista boys, the guys over at the coffee shop. Mm-hmm. It's just amazing the business that place does. And I was by there today, and we need to get some valet parking or get a parking attendant or something out there. But,
I know.
What a couple great guys you got working over there. But the things that they said about you were just amazing. So you got to listen to that show. I know you don't listen often. But
I did. I was waiting for the second one.
It was really, really good. And I was over there today getting my hair cut by Mackenzie, and you can see I got my eyebrow parted.
Shout
today.
out to Mackenzie.
Yeah, and I was saying, and she was just talking about you, saying, well, it's just the leadership qualities that you have there, and the leader that you are there. I mean,
thank you.
They all respect you, and they all like working there. And you've done a fantastic job, and you're getting ready to move your location to this new. Now, tell me about the shopping center. What's that all about?
Well, I just first want to say I wouldn't be anything that I am without my team. I really have become the leader that I am because they just make me a better boss and make me a better leader, me and Katie. So
you and me have a lot of the same qualities, but I'm not a very good boss. You're a good boss. I was a bad boss. And although I think I'd be a better boss today, but I got no interest in being it. I kind of like it.
It's hard.
I have one employee, and she's the greatest. You know, that's your friend Danielle, who she's a lifer with me.
Yeah.
And
but yeah, we are moving.
Bright.
We are moving just right across Ridge Lake. They're building a retail strip, so the salon's going over there in about 3,000 square feet, the space. And we're gonna keep the current space and hopefully expand Moxie. That is an idea, but we don't know yet.
Well, so what are the ideas for expanding Moxie? Anything?
I don't know yet. We haven't gotten that far. We need to get out first, which means we got to focus on the salon. But that's the goal.
Okay. Well, Katie, thanks a lot, man. This is a memory made.
I know, it's
a
fun.
memory made, and don't forget for Father's Day, I wish for a Father's Day pie. I wish for a Father's Day pie. I'd like to dedicate this show to the late Ricky Leon Strickland, who passed away. God rest his soul. And there it is. It's a wrap. 2-part series. Hopefully you get to know me now. Now you know who I am. The problem with me is a lot of people don't get me.
To know him is to love him.
The problem with me is that some people don't kind of get me. And if you get me, you like me. And then you might get to get me and like me.
He might be an acquired taste.
Yeah, that's what my father-in-law says. of an acquired taste. This is All Over the Road, the podcast, New Orleans. I'm Victor Del Giorno, and with Katie Bellarino saying, have a happy Father's Day to all
Happy
you guys.
Father's Day.
Get yourself some peace and quiet, gentlemen.
Coming to Coin Trader Studios, we're bringing it live. And who am I? I go by the name of Darkest Night. And Jada Hoyos is the one who brings a sick beat, to which we're getting pumped for topics this week. So let me grab my Greg soda and take a sip, while I turn it over to Katie, Nick, Ted, and Vic. It's all over. We're all over the road. We got a brand new show, so just lo and behold, from the bayou to the city to the burbs to the swamps, you better know what time it is when you're hearing that.
Okay, I'm running out. I love you. I gotta go.
And yeah, the jokes are stupid and corny. Like, what's the most educated supplement? Collagen. You know, it's dumb. It's dumb. And you cringe. I get it. You're like, oh, that was so dumb. It's not for you. It's for him. He needs these jokes more than you. He needs to be reminded of the goodness of life because he gave it up when you were born. Don't you understand? He spent his savings so you could have an education. He lost his hair so you could have morals. He gained 50 extra pounds, put on the ugliest shirts imaginable so he could be unattractive to the rest of the world, to be loyal to your fucking mom. And has the audacity to entertain you on top. Gives it to you pro bono. And one day, he's going to give you the joke and you're not going to take it right. He's going to snap. He's just going to be like, what's the loneliest kind of cheese? Provolone. And you're going to be like, oh, that was so stupid, Dad. And he's going to lose it. He's going to remember how you ruined his life. You know what? Here's a dad joke. I'm leaving. Because face it or not, leaving was the original dad joke. And that's why you should laugh at dad jokes every chance you get. Because every time you don't, a dad leaves his kids at Applebee's.
You know, Ted, I think Steam is beginning to pick up with the listener line.
You feel it?
I do.
Yeah, good.
Especially since you put the correct number on the website.
It did help dramatically to actually have the correct number posted. Yes, it did.
And that was designed to do what, Nick?
To drive people to call in and leave a message and get us to do either something or just ask us a question, anything that's on their mind. They can drop by anytime.
And we want to hear their what, Ted?
Their stories.
We want to hear their stories. This is what we promise you in season 3. More stories, more stories, more stories. And one other thing, much cleaner underwear.
601.
Route 66 768 8366.
That's it.
That's the one. That's the correct number.
All Over the Road New Orleans is brought to you by Coin Trader Inc. Mind your money.